A life without a higher meaning eventually rots into self-worship, when there's nothing bigger than you to answer to, no truth, no philosophy, no God, no principle that stands above your own ego. The self becomes both the idol and the construction project. You start polishing yourself like a statue you plan to worship later. Every moment becomes about optimizing, improving, branding, producing. The modern world calls this being busy. I call it a slow spiritual collapse dressed up as productivity. Because here's the dirty secret nobody likes to admit: busyness is usually just a more socially acceptable form of bondage. The more active people become, the more chains they quietly bolt onto their own ankles. Meetings, notifications, errands, hustles, side hustles, personal brands, productivity hacks, 1,000 tiny obligations piling up until the calendar looks like a prison ledger. And somehow we convinced ourselves that this frantic motion is freedom. It isn't. It's a hamster wheel with Wi-Fi. The ancient thinkers understood something we've completely forgotten. The point of life wasn't endless activity. It was contemplation, thinking, reflecting, wrestling with truth, sitting quietly long enough to ask dangerous questions about who we are and why we're here. Because once the self becomes the center of everything, it starts feeding on itself, ego consuming ego, until there's nothing left but exhaustion and noise. That's why the contemplative life matters, not because doing nothing is noble, but because stopping long enough to think is the only way a human being figures out what they're actually supposed to be doing in the first place. Without that pause, without something higher than the self to orient toward, all you get is movement without meaning, motion without direction, and a society sprinting full speed toward nowhere.